My sister and I were both chosen by Beastman at the same time. My sister chose the tall and handsome lion Beastman, on the other hand, was forced to marry a Beastman from the Canis Major star system, 14 million light-years away from Earth. My sister mocked me, saying the difference between a lion and a dog was obvious at a glance, but who would have thought? Shortly after I arrived in the Canis Major star system, Earth encountered an unprecedented heatwave. I kindly invited my sister to temporarily escape the scorching heat in the Canis Major star system. However, after my sister arrived in the Canis Major star system, she discovered that this place was hundreds of millions of times more advanced than Earth. She grew jealous and took advantage of my husband's inattention. With a single stab, she plunged the knife into my heart. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I chose my Beastman husband. This time, my younger sister rushed to marry the Beastman from the Canis Major star system. I knew then that my sister had also been reborn. This time, both the Lion Beastman and the Canis Major Beastman have come to propose marriage. Which of you sisters would like to marry whom? Before Mother could finish speaking, my sister blurted out, "I want to marry the Canis Major Beastman." Father frowned and said, "Sweetheart, the Canis Major system is 14 million light-years away from Earth. By the time you get there, you might not even be alive anymore. Why don't you marry the Lion Beastman instead? He's tall, handsome, and incredibly wealthy. Truly an excellent choice, although I know that the Canis Major civilization is hundreds of millions of times more advanced than Earth's, and what we consider 14 million light-years would take them just an hour to traverse." But hearing Dad say this, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. Dad, if I marry into the Canis Major system, wouldn't I die before even getting there? Caught off guard by my remark, Dad looked somewhat embarrassed. "Oh, come on, as the older sister, you've lived so many more years than your little sister. It's not like you're losing out." Sure enough, even after being reborn, they still favored my sister as always, but my sister refused to give up, crying and fussing about wanting to marry the Canis Major's Beastman. Our parents had no choice but to agree to let her marry the Canis Major's Beastman. As for me, I married a Lion Beastman. When my younger sister boarded the cosmic light wheel bound for the Canis Major constellation, she looked at me smugly. "Sister, in this lifetime, you can enjoy the high-temperature apocalypse to your heart's content. As for me, I'm off to the Canis Major constellation to experience a civilization billions of times more advanced than Earth's. Don't even think about competing with me for the good stuff, or I'll kill you with my own hands." With that, she turned and entered the cabin, leaving only her back to me. I sneered inwardly. "Little sister, do you really think it was you who killed me?" The cosmic wheel dispatched by the Canis Major constellation was moving exceptionally fast. Although it's 14 million light-years away, it only took an hour. My parents and I had just returned home after sending off my sister, when we received her cosmic holographic sensory call from the Canis Major dwarf galaxy. At this moment, an almost lifelike sister stood right before our eyes. The sister looked proudly at our parents' astonished expressions. Dad was so shocked his lips were practically trembling. "Sweetheart, you got here so fast." My sister glanced at me, a mocking smile still playing at the corners of her lips. "Of course, Dad, Mom. The civilization of the Canis Venatici galaxy is billions of times more advanced than Earth's. A mere 14 million light-years is like going to the mall for them. See, Dad, Mom, I made the right choice, didn't I? Good thing I was smart enough not to pick that Leo Beastman or whatever. Now I'm the princess consort of the Canis Venatici galaxy." My sister gave a little shake, making her gorgeous robe shimmer. "Sister, you've never seen such beautiful clothes, have you? How about I pick you up someday to visit the Canis Majori system? I'll broaden your horizons. Those Lion Beastmen might be impressive on Earth, but in our Canis Majori system, they're not even fit to be my night soil carriers." Poor little sister, she doesn't realize that the Canis Majori's Beastmen are still treating her relatively well, only because they haven't fully grasped the capabilities of Earthlings yet. Once the Canis Majori's Beastmen complete their investigation and confirm that Earthlings are utterly defenseless against them, they'll subject her to relentless slaughter. Especially since Canis Majori's medical technology is so advanced, they'll keep me teetering on the brink of death, reviving me just as I'm about to expire from torture. It will heal me in just another minute, then begins a new round of slaughter. But the idea my little sister just proposed, Taking me to the Canis Major system to broaden my horizons seems like it could solve my urgent problem of how to survive the scorching apocalypse. If I take my lion Beastman husband to live in the Canis Major constellation for a while, we can return to Earth after the high-temperature apocalypse passes. Seems like a decent option too, but the problem is, in the previous life, the Canis Majori system Beastmen revealed their true nature only after Earth's high-temperature apocalypse had passed. What if, in this life, they act earlier, living a second life? I must avoid all potential dangers as much as possible. Moreover, considering my sister's temperament, if I were to go to the Canis Major dwarf galaxy, I'm afraid there won't be good days ahead either. Perhaps I won't even make it to the high-temperature apocalypse, and will die there instead. Thinking of this, I decided to just settle down and marry my lion Beastman husband. Sister, I don't have your good fortune. I won't be going to the Canis Major star system. You enjoy it to the fullest. Hearing my words, my younger sister became even more smug. At least you still have some self-awareness. You're just a lowly person with a lowly fate. Even if this wealth were given to you, you wouldn't be able to bear it. Only someone like me, born noble, deserves to enjoy such glory and riches. I glanced at our parents. They didn't seem to find anything inappropriate about my sister's disrespect toward me. Oh dear, how could your sister compare to you? You're the little princess of our family. Of course you should live like one. Mom and Dad have only been apart from you for a short while, and we already miss you terribly. Dad, Mom, since you miss my sister so much, why don't you go to the Canis Major system to keep her company? Hearing my words, our parents looked at my sister expectantly. My sister hesitated slightly, saying, well, didn't you just say you'd take me to the Canis Major system to broaden my horizons? Taking Mom and Dad along shouldn't be a problem, right? Oh dear, never mind, sweetheart, our precious just got married. It really wouldn't be convenient for Mom and Dad to go. We'll just follow your sister and let her take care of us. Typical favoritism from parents, always thinking of the younger sister for the good things, but when it's time for elder care, suddenly they remember me. Mom, Dad, I'm marrying a Leonine tomorrow. And I'm worried my husband might just gobble you up in one bite. What's the matter, little sis? Don't want Mom and Dad to come? Could it be that the Canis Major system isn't as great as you claimed? Were you just bragging? Dad glared at me angrily. You little brat, what nonsense are you spouting? Upon hearing my words, my sister's face was filled with disdain. Fine, I'll do it, Mom, Dad. I'll send the cosmic light wool to pick you up right now. Let's see if certain jealous bitches still think I'm bragging. This works perfectly. Then let the biased parents and malicious sister experience the twisted amusement from the Canis Major star system together. After seeing off the biased parents, the lion Beastman came to pick me up. Indeed, that lion Beastman was extraordinarily handsome. Having been accustomed to the terrifying appearances of beastmen from the Canis Major star system in my previous life, exceptionally happy, by the way. I'm quite curious, after my younger sister sees the appearance of that Canis Majori's Beastman, what kind of reaction will she have? For some reason, I always feel like the lion seems a bit surprised when it sees me. The lion Beastman transformed into his beast form. He let me ride on his back. I held on to the lion Beastman's neck, feeling a long-lost warmth. The lion Beastman seemed to sense my gaze. He asked me, my name is Gu Shaoran, and I still don't know yours. My name is Li Ran. What a lovely name. It reminds me of the rising sun, the sun. It suddenly occurred to me that the scorching apocalypse is coming soon, and I need to prepare early, to escape the extreme heat. There are only two options, either dig a hole or head for the mountains, but since it's a high-temperature apocalypse, I'm afraid the glaciers in Antarctica would melt under such extreme heat, causing sea levels to rise. Digging a hole would likely just result in flooding. Can you climb mountains? Climb mountains, for an average lion, it might be a bit challenging, but I'm different. I'm a very capable lion. Then let's climb Mount Everest. The lion's face was full of confusion. Why go there? Because in a while, the world will experience terrifyingly high temperatures. The lion still seemed puzzled, but he didn't ask anything further. He simply carried me toward the direction of Mount Everest. I don't know how long we traveled before the lion stopped. What's wrong? I'm a bit tired. Let's rest here for the night. The lion set me down and transformed into human form. I looked around. This was a desolate wilderness with few signs of human habitation. The lion seemed to notice the confusion on my face. He explained to me, "This is the shortest route to Mount Everest. If we were to go through the city, we'd have to travel nearly 5 times the distance. I'm afraid I wouldn't make it in time before the high-temperature apocalypse you mentioned arrives, for some reason." I felt unexpectedly moved. "Do you really trust me that much? Aren't you worried that this so-called apocalypse might just be nonsense I made up?" The lion bent down and gently touched my forehead. "You're my wife. Of course I trust you." A warm feeling flowed through my heart. This seemed to be the first time someone had chosen to trust me unconditionally. Once upon a time, at home, my words were never to be trusted. Whenever my little sister caused trouble, the blame would fall on me. No matter how I explained, my parents were convinced I was lying. I've lost count of how many times I was beaten for the trouble my sister caused. Eventually, I simply stopped explaining. No matter what I said, they would only believe my sister, and I would end up getting beaten. I no longer wanted to waste my breath. I thought after all I'd been through, my heart had become as hard as steel. Yet Gu Xiaoran's trust made my heart tremble. Gu Xiaoran took me to the Black Bear's cave. I stood at the entrance, too afraid to go in. Will that black bear eat me? I hid behind Gu Xiaoran. Having died once, I now understood how precious life is. "Don't worry, it's fine. Hey, brother Black Bear, it's me, Gu Xiaoran." As soon as he finished speaking, a massive black bear emerged from the cave, startling me into a scream. "Sorry about that, brother Xiaoran. I didn't know your wife was here." The black bear scratched its head and transformed into human form. I never expected the human form of this black bear to be a young man who looked no older than 20, but brother Xiaoran, how many times have I told you, don't call me Black Bear, I have a name. Okay, it's Xiao Beichin. I burst out laughing. "Why are the names you guys choose all so CEO-like?" Xiao Beichin scratched his head. "I saw this name used in novels all the time. Gu Xiaoran told me to rest here while he went out hunting." The black bear wanted to go with him, but Gu Xiaoran refused. "Just stay here and protect my wife. She's a timid little girl." Gu Xiaoran patted my head and left the cave. So, there are people who remember that I also need to be protected. Back at home, as the older sister, I was always expected to protect my younger sister. I remember one time when my sister and I encountered a robber. I was so scared that I ran away first, but I immediately called the police after escaping. Because the police arrived in time, my sister wasn't harmed, just frightened. But my parents, because I failed to protect her, hung me from the ceiling beam and whipped me for a full day and night. At first, I begged desperately for mercy, but later, the pain left me too hoarse to scream. My parents, fearing they might actually beat me to death and get into legal trouble, reluctantly put down the belt. For a full day and night, they gave me neither water nor food. I felt like I was about to die. They told me that because I was the older sister, everything was my responsibility, but I was just a child too. As I was thinking, I received a call from my younger sister. Seeing that I was actually in a cave, my sister burst into laughter, shaking with mirth. "Ha ha ha, sister, how pitiful you are. How can you live in such a shabby place? Look at where I live. It's magnificent, 1,000 times better than your wretched hole. Oh dear, sweetheart, you're so delicate and precious. How could that lowly woman ever compare to you?" It's Mom's voice. I never understood before, why was there such a big difference in how Mom and Dad treated me compared to my sister, even though we were both their children. It wasn't until after I died that I finally knew. Turns out, I was conceived while Mom was still in school. Mom originally wanted to abort me, but the doctor said if she aborted me, she might never get pregnant again in her lifetime. Left with no choice, Mom had to give birth to me, but back then, universities didn't allow students to marry, let alone have children. Because of me, Mom was fired from the school. From then on, Mom hated me with a passion. She believed her bright future was all ruined by me. And Dad, because Mom hates me, he, to please his wife, joined Mom in ostracizing me too. But what does any of this have to do with me? Why do I have to bear all this? Hey, Li Ran, are you so jealous of me that you've lost your mind? My thoughts were interrupted by my sister's voice. I didn't want to deal with her and simply hung up the phone. Just at that moment, the lion also returned. "Brother Xiaoran, I didn't expect your hunting skills to be this good." I thought you wouldn't know how to hunt anymore after living in the city. Xiao Beichen took the meat brought back by Gu Xiaoran and was about to bite into it when Gu Xiaoran slapped it out of his hand. My wife is here, let her eat first. Gu Xiaoran let me eat first, which really moved me. After all, at home, I was always the last to eat, and only got their leftovers. However, I felt a bit troubled looking at the raw meat in front of me. Gu Xiaoran slapped his forehead. Look at my memory. I forgot you're not a beastman and don't eat raw meat, Black Bear. Let me borrow your kitchen. My name is Xiao Beichen. The boy puffed his cheeks in anger and led Gu Xiaoran to the kitchen. As he walked, he muttered, such fine meat should be cooked to 0.1% doneness. Just a bit of sunlight would make it ready to eat. Cooking it well done is a downright waste. Before long, a plate of fragrant meat was served. Both Gu Xiaoran and Xiao Beichen stared at me eagerly. Let's eat together. Seeing that neither of them picked up their chopsticks and both were staring at me, I felt a bit awkward. Xiao Beichen shrugged. Sister-in-law, hurry up and eat. If you don't finish, my brother won't let me have any. Why is that? Gu Xiaoran explained to me with a serious expression. Ran, you see, for us beastmen, back when we were still beasts, food was very scarce, so we would let our wives and children eat first. Only after they were full would we eat. Gu Xiaoran's words reminded me of the days I lived in the Canis Major star system. There, I was a high-end ingredient capable of satisfying the special appetites of the Canis Major nobility. After they figured out I wasn't toxic and Earth posed no threat, they imprisoned me. They cut the flesh from my body while I was still alive. They said only this way would the meat taste good. The agony of being carved alive again and again, like a nightmare I can't escape. I used to be very confused. Why did they cut my flesh, only to save me when I was in so much pain I nearly died? Later, I learned they saved me so that my flesh could regrow, to be served as delicacies for the nobles, because they don't go to Earth to plunder more humans. It's simply because the nobles believe that such premium ingredients should only be enjoyed by the nobility. Therefore, they must control the production, marry the right person, and they will save their rations for me. Marrying the wrong person means becoming someone else's meal. At this thought, I burst into tears. Gu Xiaoran panicked instantly and pulled me into his arms. What's wrong, Ran? Why are you crying? Is the meat not to your taste? Wait here, I'll go out and get you some other meat. I could feel Gu Xiaoran's body temperature, and for some reason, it made me feel very at ease, and my tears gradually stopped. Xiaoran. I recalled some memories that made me unhappy. He held me even tighter. Ran. It's all my fault. I didn't show up in time, and I mistook someone else for you. I was just about to ask Gu Xiaoran what he meant by mistaking someone else for me, but before I could ask, Xiao Beichen interrupted. You too, that's enough. There's still a single guy here. The meat's getting cold. If you're not eating, I'll start first. Xiao Beichen's chopsticks were just about to touch the meat when Gu Xiaoran's glare scared him, and he withdrew them sheepishly. Seeing Xiao Beichen's timid demeanor, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Oh, come on, I'm not an orc, and I'm not that particular. Let's eat together. I served a piece of meat each to Gu Xiaoran and Xiao Beichen. Xiao Beichen glanced at Gu Xiaoran and only dared to eat after seeing him nod in approval. After the meal, we took a short rest before continuing our journey to Mount Everest. This time was different because Xiao Beichen was with us, finally. We reached the summit of Mount Everest just before the extreme heat apocalypse arrived. When we first reached the top of the Himalayas, even though I was wearing 2 down jackets, I was still shivering uncontrollably and could hardly sleep at night. Just after waking up, I immediately felt that the temperature had risen significantly. I took out the thermometer I always carry with me. The temperature had jumped from -20 degrees to +20 degrees. This meant that overnight, the temperature had surged by 40 degrees, that place which was originally around 20 degrees. What is it now? 60 degrees. I'm afraid that apart from here, no life can survive anywhere else, but perhaps due to the arrival of the high-temperature apocalypse, the temperature of Mount Everest has just reached a level suitable for the growth of plants and animals. With the melting of Antarctic glaciers, precipitation has also increased. The 3 of us used the seeds we brought to cultivate a piece of land and also raised animals. I calculated that it would take about 2 months for these crops and animals to mature. The food we brought is enough to feed the 3 of us for half a year. That day, I was lying in Goose Sharon's arms, listening to him tell me a story about a little lion rescued by a little girl. My sister called again. As usual, my sister looked at me with a mocking expression. Sis, aren't you suffering terribly from the heat now? Surviving the scorching apocalypse isn't easy. If you kneel and beg me, kowtow a few times, I might consider taking you in as my foot washing maid for a few days. Ha ha ha. Sister, I'd love to see your wretched state all the time. I've just implanted a real-time monitoring system in you, so I can watch your miserable appearance whenever I want. Ha 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 ha. Of course. Sister can also see at any time what kind of luxurious life your little sister is living. A luxurious life. Indeed, it's a luxurious life. But unfortunately, you're the one who's the food. But that's fine too. With this system installed, I can watch you being tormented every moment. I smiled and got up from Gushaoran. I went outside and showed my sister around my house and crops. Sis, I'm at the mountaintop. It's 20 degrees Celsius here right now, the perfect temperature for living. As I spoke, I noticed several guards approaching her from behind. This scene is all too familiar to me. In just a few more minutes, my sister and parents will become the meal of the Canis Majoris Beastmen. Just as I expected, the moment I finished speaking, a scream of "ah" came through the phone. Through the real-time surveillance system, I saw my sister being abducted by those terrifying-looking Canis Majoris Beastmen. Then, the scene shifted, and my sister, along with our parents, were locked in a dark, damp dungeon. My sister clung to the iron bars of the dungeon, shouting loudly, "I am the queen, how dare you imprison me?" The guarding sentry burst into laughter. "You, the princess consort. Ha 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 ha, this is the funniest joke I've heard in hundreds of millions of years. Do you really think our prince brought you back to make you his princess consort? Let me tell you, you're nothing but ingredients for our prince." Upon hearing the guard's words, the younger sister's face turned ashen. "What ingredients? Explain yourselves clearly." "To put it bluntly, the prince enjoys eating earthlings. You were brought back to be eaten. Now do you understand? Who would have thought you'd bring back 2 old ones as well? The meat on these 2 elders looks unappetizing. Our prince has been racking his brains these days trying to figure out how to deal with them." The younger sister listened to the guard's words, falling to the ground, muttering incoherently, "Impossible. This can't be. I'm clearly the princess. How could I be food? It must be Li Ranran envying my good life, making you lie to me, right?" The guard licked his lips, drool nearly dripping. "Who's Li Ranran? Is she tasty?" My sister seemed to suddenly realize something, shaking the bars violently. "Tell the prince that I have a sister still on earth, and you're eating my sister. Let me go back." I was practically nauseated with anger at Li Yingying's disgusting behavior. In my previous life, she was jealous of my good fortune and stabbed me in the heart. Although I didn't die then and was saved, her intent to kill me was already clear as day. In this life, it was also her who insisted on marrying the Beastman from the Canis Major constellation. Now, even at death's door, she still wants to drag me down with her, but I'm not the least bit flustered. I know the prince would never agree. Sure enough, the familiar male voice came from the prison corridor. "I don't eat much. Just one of you is enough." "Then why did you agree to bring my parents here?" The prince grinned. "Originally, I was worried that you earthlings might be stronger than us Canis Majoris Beastmen, so I had to keep you calm first. But who would have thought that our technological level in the Canis Majori system is so far ahead of yours? Naturally, I can now indulge freely in eating earthlings." The prince then pointed at my parents. "First, we'll stew those 2 old ones into soup. Their meat is too tough to eat, so making soup is best." Hearing this, my parents fainted on the spot from fright. Then the prince pointed at my younger sister. "This one's young and tender. I'll make sashimi out of it. Which part should I start with?" The prince's eyes roamed over his sister's pallid face. "Let's go with the cheek meat. It's the most tender. Be careful not to kill her, though. If she dies, I'll have to catch another one. And activating the cosmic will isn't cheap." As soon as the prince left, several Canis Major Beastmen wielding sharp knives approached the sister. My sister was trembling all over with fear, shivering as she hid behind our parents. She shook our unconscious, terrified parents. "Dad, Mom, save me, I don't want to be food." Surprisingly, our parents woke up when she shook them like that. I had thought my parents would protect my sister at all costs, since they had always loved her dearly, but what happened next completely caught me off guard. After waking up, they actually slapped my sister so hard she was sent flying. As they hit her, they cursed furiously. "It's all because of you, you jinx. Why did you have to bring us here, just to show off? If it weren't for you, would we have ended up like this?" Then, my parents put on ingratiating smiles. "Big brother, how about using my daughter for the soup? Our old bones wouldn't make a tasty broth." Weren't they always so deeply affectionate? I thought about it carefully, actually. My parents don't love my sister either. What they truly love is only themselves. The reason they favor my sister so much, at its core, they still wanted to make me suffer. My sister was merely a tool they used to torment me. The pleas of my parents did not soften the hearts of the Canis Majoris Beastmen. They took my parents and sister away. I dare not look at what comes next. Quickly turn off the monitor. But from the monitor, their screams still reached me, suddenly. It felt like I was back in those days again. My hands were trembling violently, my feet seemed to disobey my commands. I don't remember how I made it back to the house. By the time my consciousness returned, I was trembling, curled up in Gu Xiaoran's arms. "Baby, what's wrong?" Gu Xiaoran looked anxious, holding a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from my forehead. "And nothing. I just thought of some things." Gu Xiaoran moved his lips as if wanting to say something, but in the end, he only said, "Those were things from the past life. It's all over now. Don't be afraid, I'm here, and I won't let anyone hurt you again." "You knew," Gu Xiaoran nodded. "Ever since you mentioned the high-temperature apocalypse, I knew you were reborn. So, you are too." Gu Xiaoran heard my words and looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, Ran. In my past life, I found the wrong person." Gu Xiaoran told me that in his past life, the person he wanted to marry was me, not Li Yingying. He was originally the Lion King. And in order to marry me, he offered almost half of the royal palace as a betrothal gift. It was precisely because the dowry was too generous, in the previous life. That's why my sister chose him, Gu Xiaoran said angrily. "Back then, I clearly told your parents that the one I wanted to marry was you." "What happened next?" "Then the high-temperature apocalypse came. Your sister despised me for not being able to bring her coolness, and in a fit of rage, she killed me. It wasn't until my dying moment that I realized I had been looking for the wrong person all along. After that, I discovered I had been reborn, but I was reborn too late. The Canis Majoris Beastman's cosmic will had already departed. I thought I would relive the tragedy of my previous life, but unexpectedly, this time it was your sister who went to the Canis Majori system." Hearing Gu Xiaoran's words, I grew even more puzzled. "But why did you come to me? We were complete strangers to begin with." As soon as my words fell, Gu Xiaoran, who had been looking at me with anticipation, suddenly dimmed his eyes. His voice also carried a hint of grievance and disappointment. "Have you forgotten everything?" Seeing my confusion, he sighed. "Remember the story I told you about a little lion being saved by a little girl? That little girl was you, and the little lion was me." Hearing Gu Xiaoran's words, I carefully tried to recall. It seems when I was 4 years old, I was kicked out of the house by my parents and indeed saved a small animal, but it wasn't a lion I saved. It was a little kitten. Xiao Beichin, who was just entering, happened to hear my words. He laughed so hard he nearly fell over, slapping his thigh repeatedly. "Ha ha ha ha. Brother Xiaoran, Sister Ran said you're a little kitten." Gu Xiaoran looked up at me with resentment, his face full of black lines. "I'm clearly a little lion, not a kitten." "A lion? No wonder that kitten looked so strange. I've never seen one like it before. It's a lion, not a cat." Gu Xiaoran was so angry that he directly transformed from his human form into a lion. Okay, it's a lion." Seeing that he was genuinely upset, I quickly reached out to stroke his lion's mane. "To be honest, the texture really does feel quite similar to a cat's." Gu Xiaoran, after being comforted by me for a while, gradually calmed down and transformed back into human form. "Darling, in your past life, did the Canis Majoris Beastmen treat you poorly?" Gu Xiaoran asked me cautiously. "How did you know?" Logically speaking, although Gu Xiaoran was reborn, he died even earlier than my sister. Even my sister didn't know what kind of life I was living in the Canis Major Dwarf Galaxy. How could he possibly know? I've noticed that every time you finish a call with your sister, you start trembling all over and turn pale." Gu Shaoran spoke while carefully observing my expression. Seeing that I remained composed, he continued, I was wondering if perhaps you didn't have a good time in the Canis Major system, and your sister's calls bring back those unhappy memories from the past. I watched Gu Shaoran's cautious demeanor, and all my grievances erupted at this very moment. My tears, like a breached flood, overflowed uncontrollably. I wanted to pour out all the suffering I had endured in my past life, but those tragic experiences were right on the tip of my tongue, yet I couldn't bring myself to say them no matter what. Gu Shaoran gently patted my back, helping me calm down. He said softly, Sweetheart, if you don't want to talk about it, then don't. It's my fault. I shouldn't have brought up your painful memories. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at him. No, you're wonderful. Before you, no one has ever treated me so well. Gu Shaoran looked at me with heartache, then planted a firm kiss on my forehead. At that very moment, I never expected to receive another call from my sister. This time, she didn't video call me but instead called me with a voice message. Big sister, Mom and Dad miss you so much. Come visit them in the Canis Major star system soon. Big sister, tell me your exact location. Which mountaintop are you on? I'll send a cosmic light wheel to pick you up. My younger sister's voice sounded clearly exhausted, yet she was trying hard to maintain her usual energy. Hearing this, I immediately understood what scheme my sister was plotting. I just don't know where my sister got the cosmic wheel from, but upon reflection, she probably bribed some guard. Yet what could she possibly have to bribe a Canis Major Beastman with? The more I thought about it, the more I broke out in a cold sweat. All she had was probably just herself. I really don't know why my sister hates me so much. She's determined to put me to death. Sister, I won't go. You said it yourself. I'm of lowly birth, unworthy of such pleasures. Sister, I was wrong before, but I miss you so much. Please don't hold it against me. Come and see me. I sneered. To watch you get eaten by the Canis Majoris Beastmen. My sister gasped in shock. You, how did you know? Little sister, don't you remember? You installed real-time surveillance. Not only could you see me, but I could see you too. But now, you probably can't see me anymore. I've already destroyed that monitoring system. The younger sister gritted her teeth. So that's how it was. However, what? However, little sister, do you think I wouldn't know just because there's no surveillance? Without waiting for my sister's reply, I continued. You didn't really think you were the only one who was reborn, did you? After I said this, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Then, a piercing scream nearly shattered my eardrums. Li Ran. So you were reborn too, weren't you? You knew all along, didn't you? That's why you didn't compete with me. You just watched me walk step by step toward death. I didn't speak, but my sister lowered her voice, murmuring to herself, No, you don't know. In the previous life, I had already killed you. You never even lived long enough to be eaten. Ha 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 ha. Li Ran, in the previous life, you died by my hand. You were my defeated opponent. This time, you just got a bit luckier. My sister laughed loudly over the phone, but for some reason, that laughter sent chills down my spine. Sister, you should now have some understanding of the medical capabilities of the Canis Majoris Beastmen. Do you really think a mere stab wound could kill me? My sister froze. I continued. That stab did nothing to me. After the Canis Majoris Beastmen executed you as an assassin, I was revived within minutes. I paused. So, little sister, everything you're suffering now is what I endured in my past life. Li Ran, you bitch, you knew, you actually knew. Then why did you watch me walk to my death? Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't I say anything? Because I'm not a saint. I cannot return good for evil. Moreover, the Orions from the Canis Major system specifically demanded one of us sisters. I know full well that with their power, they will get whoever they want. If I warn my sister, the one who will die, it will be me. I don't want to answer anymore. I noticed my hands trembling again, but before I could hang up the phone, a pair of hands with distinct knuckles helped me end the call. I looked up. It was Gu Shaoran. If something makes you unhappy, don't dwell on it anymore, and don't answer your sister's calls in the future. Okay, Gu Shaoran spoke while stroking my hair. As if petting a frightened kitten, I looked at him and suddenly felt a mischievous urge. But I'm really sad right now. Then let me take you out for a walk. Okay, Okay, Gu Shaoran was about to take my hand, but I pulled it back. Sister, in this lifetime, you can enjoy the high-temperature apocalypse to your heart's content. As for me, I'm off to the Canis Major constellation to experience a civilization billions of times more advanced than Earth's, I said word by word. I want to ride a lion for a spin. Gu Shaoran obediently transformed into the form of a lion. I climbed onto his back. Before I could even settle in properly, Xiao Beichen happened to be going out. He saw me riding Gu Shaoran. Ha 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 ha, brother Shaoran. I never thought you'd have a day like this. You always mocked me for being a black bear, saying I wasn't as majestic as you. Who would have thought you, the lion, would become a big horse? Ha 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 ha. Xiao Beichen clutched his stomach, laughing uncontrollably. I actually saw embarrassment on a lion's face. Gu Shaoran took me away at the fastest speed. After leaving Xiao Beichen's sight, Gu Shaoran slowed down. Baby, did that not mess you up just now? No, it's really exciting, honey. Why do you really like me, baby? Didn't I tell you? Because you saved me, but that's gratitude, not love. Gu Shaoran stopped and transformed into his human form. Darling, actually I'm an orphaned lion with no parents. On the day I met you, because I had no parents to protect me, I was bullied by other lion cubs and nearly bitten to death. The reason I'm so close with Black Bear is actually because I was raised by his parents. That day, Black Bear's parents were both away, and no one was looking after me. I thought I was going to die, but you saved me. Watching you carefully apply medicine to my wounds and share your own food with me, I thought to myself, if my parents were still alive, they would probably be just like you. From that day on, I fell in love with you. To marry you, I worked desperately to become the strongest lion in the tribe. Later, I became the Lion King, and then, following my childhood memories, I found your home. Unfortunately, I ended up with the wrong person. I never expected that Gu Xiaoran's childhood would turn out to be almost identical to mine. Although I have parents, it's almost as if I don't. I threw myself into Gu Xiaoran's arms. He held me tightly. So in this lifetime, let's not be apart again, okay? I love you. I nodded vigorously. I love you too. Don't go away. The next story is even more exciting. With the extreme cold coming, my boyfriend couldn't afford a high-power heater and begged me to let his family move into my villa. More people means more sense of security. Less than 3 days after my boyfriend acted submissively, he took charge and drove away my bodyguards and servants, taking over my master bedroom. His mother called me shameless trash for having had 4 boyfriends. His father kicked my dog to death and cooked it for meat, gnawing on its bones. Later, as the temperature dropped lower and lower, my boyfriend's family devoured all the dry rations I had stored, ignoring my desperate pleas. They pushed me out to demand more food. I was wearing a thin shirt and froze to death in the hallway after just a few steps. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day when the TV reported the continuously dropping temperatures. My boyfriend sent me a text message to reconcile, but I smirked coldly and immediately deleted and blocked him. News outlets are broadcasting extreme cold warnings everywhere, with the entire country expected to face widespread attacks of severe cold over the next half-month. Related, the hashtags, extreme cold, and stockpiling, are trending. I curled up in bed, letting the familiar ringtone chime incessantly. Unlike the netizens who are still enthusiastically discussing countermeasures online, right now, I'm overwhelmed with relief and lingering fear from having narrowly escaped disaster. Lying in the warm fleece blanket, with the heater blowing steadily. Yet it took forever for me to feel any warmth, but I still didn't dare move a muscle, afraid that this might be like the little match girl's final dream before death, that if I moved, I'd return to that bone-chilling hell. The phone is still ringing, with the custom ringtone I specifically set for my boyfriend, but now it sounds especially ironic and ridiculous to me. In my previous life, it was also at this time. My college boyfriend, Jiang Wentao, called me. I answered with joy, only to be met not just with Jiang Wentao's demands, but also with his parents' foul language and his younger siblings' bossy attitudes. You mentioned before that you have a villa near the university. Since you can't possibly use all the space by yourself, could I stay there for a few days? It's almost half a month of extreme cold, and living in my hometown makes everything inconvenient, especially the earthen stove. I'm afraid even starting a fire will be difficult then. I can't get up. And, I'm a total neat freak. I'm afraid I won't even be able to wash my clothes by then. He should have been asking for my help, but the person on the other end spoke as if it were only natural. In my past life, I was so worried that he might suffer in this extreme cold that I agreed as soon as he finished speaking. I didn't even notice his contemptuous attitude at all. Beneath the surface lies such twisted notions, back then. I even specifically arranged for a driver to pick them up and bring them to my villa. I also instructed the servants to fulfill their every need as much as possible, but I completely missed the point. How did Jiang Kongwen know I had a villa near the university? Only my best friend was supposed to know about this. Right after starting university, Jiang Kongwen began pursuing me. While chasing me, he kept lamenting his tragic background, his lame father, sick mother, and 2 younger siblings still in school. The whole family depends on him for support. Every time I heard this, I felt both heartache and admiration for him, thinking how hard it must be for him, so I would transfer the living expenses my parents sent me to him. After we naturally got together, Jiang Kongwen started asking me for money more freely, to the point where my phone always had only a few tens of yuan left. Once when I went out to buy milk tea, I realized at checkout that I didn't have enough money. I called to ask him to return the 100 yuan he owed me, but he said, "How greedy to want back what you've already given." He even scolded me for drinking milk tea, saying his mother and sister didn't even know what milk tea was. His righteous tone made me cry, and I truly thought it was my fault. In the end, a friend who was with me paid for me, and since then, after that, I never mentioned repaying the money to Jiang Kongwen again. Recalling the sums he borrowed from me, all added up, it should have been close to 100,000. That was all money I sacrificed my quality of life to give him as living expenses. Yet when I wanted to buy the most basic cup of milk tea, he would lecture me. The pampered little princess had never suffered such grievances before. Gradually, I learned to be smarter and stopped getting involved in financial matters with Jiang Kongwen. Whenever he talked about how miserable his family was and how poor he was, I would join in and cry about how pitiful I was too. As for the fact that I still owned a villa, I dared not let him know it was my coming-of-age gift. As for my best friend, she also vaguely guessed it through video calls with me. In my previous life, I was still too soft-hearted, but I also underestimated the most primal evil of Jiang Tsungwen's family. I had thought that even if I let their family move in, there were still bodyguards and servants. If they got too out of hand, I had countermeasures. Until the day they moved in, they used the excuse of outsiders being inconvenient at home and scarce supplies to drive everyone away while I was asleep. Even after they had exhausted all the supplies in the Huohua villa, they made me go out to find food. In the freezing snow, I was pushed out by Jiang Kongwen in my pajamas. Before I could even leave the yard, my entire body was frozen stiff, and I simply couldn't take it anymore. I had no choice but to kneel and beg Jiang Kongwen to open the door and let me in to put on more clothes. In response, all I heard was the unrestrained laughter of his family, enjoying the air conditioning while basking by a heater. Thought the young miss was so high and mighty, but she still has to kneel and beg us. Women just can't be spoiled. Once properly trained, she'll obediently bear children when she marries into our family. I was with her in the first place because of that big butt of hers, good for bearing sons. Recalling all the events of my past life, I decisively blocked and deleted Jiang Kongwen without a second thought. Such a disgusting guy should just fend for himself. I opened the online supermarket and ordered a variety of warm clothing and emergency tools, covering all categories. Mom and Dad are still abroad visiting Grandma and the others. I called to remind them to take precautions against the extreme cold. Even though they're in the tropics now, I still worry about the off chance. Hearing my concern, my parents were deeply moved, and Grandma and Grandpa also felt I've grown up to be considerate and caring. Without hesitation, they upgraded me to an unlimited premium black card. He also told me to stay home and not go out. This is the person who truly loves me, surrounded by love. I never imagined there could be someone like Jiang Kongwen in the world who is so skilled at pretending, a pretentious and manipulative jerk who loves to gaslight. Thoughts were interrupted by the adorable fleece, Chocolate, rushing over to snuggle with me. In its previous life, it was kicked to death by Father Jiang, who claimed that eating dog meat could ward off the cold and keep warm. Amid my cries, Chocolate was simply boiled and eaten, even more absurdly, to assert his authority. He pressed my head down and forced Jiang Kongwen to pour the meat broth into my mouth. Hatred welled up in my heart, but the immediate priority was to retrieve the supplies I had ordered. The foot traffic in the large high-end supermarket wasn't too heavy, with a few strong bodyguards in tow. I began directing the shopping. In extreme cold weather, staying warm is the top priority, even though the villa has central heating. Just to be safe, I bought 10 more standing air conditioners. One for each servant's room, and then, with a grand gesture, I added 20 more small heaters to the list. I also bought 2 more generators, as energy is equally important, for daily necessities. I handed the manager the list prepared by the butler, and to be on the safe side, I bought double of everything. While the staff was moving things, I spotted a freezer not far away. I bought it outright, including all the ice pops and ice cream inside. I can't even imagine how blissful it would be to snuggle in a warm blanket, with the cozy air conditioning on while enjoying an ice-cold popsicle, and with hot pot ingredients ready, savoring slices of fatty beef while binge-watching variety shows and dramas. Such a life is truly dreamlike. This time, I won't compromise my own happiness anymore. Everything is set, just waiting for the extreme cold to arrive. The last time I took the dog out for a walk, a hand grabbed me at the corner. Caught off guard, I fell to the ground. Why aren't you answering my calls? Do you know how much effort I've put into finding you? Jiang Kongwen didn't help me up when he saw me fall, instead accusing me. You live alone in a villa. Do you even understand how to live there properly? Our whole family should move in with you. Hold on, I'll go bring them over right now. I was stunned. It had never occurred to me that Jiang Kongwen would actually travel all the way from a remote southern mountain village back to the northern school, and even specifically search for me within my usual activity range. I deliberately kept the fact that I own a villa from him, and no one knew the address either. How on earth did he manage to find this place? I forced a smile and asked with confusion, Kongwen, what brings you here? What do you mean, what brings me here? You have the nerve to not lend me your phone. Never mind all that, our family spent over 1,000 just on travel expenses to find you, accommodation, and phone calls to you. Round it up and reimburse me 2,000. I was so infuriated by his shamelessness that I ended up laughing. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Jiang Kongwen didn't bother to help me up and instead dragged me straight toward the residential area. Given the physical differences between genders, I couldn't break free. And my arm was wrenched so hard it ached unbearably. It must have been bruised purple. Along the way, Jiang Kongwen even made a phone call to his family. Dad, I found her. I'll bring you both back soon. I told you, women are all worthless. You can't be nice to them. A few slaps and she'll learn her place. Hurry up, the hotel just called to check out. Exactly. If that girl dares to disobey, don't go easy on her. I was right beside him. And he seemed completely unaware of how absurdly loud his old phone was. He even nodded along, letting his parents spew their filthy language without restraint, listening to their curses and watching Chocolate walk so close to me. I couldn't bear to let them off the hook anymore. In this second life, I never intended to seek revenge. I just wanted to stay far away and cut my losses in time, but they insisted on provoking me. You had the path to heaven but chose the road to hell. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Before, my mind was clouded by love for Jiang Kongwen, willingly lowering myself for the sake of love. But this time, who does Jiang Kongwen think he is? I won't humiliate myself for him again. It's my turn to make a move now. I took out my phone and contacted Mr. Lee, the real estate developer. The property prices here are high, and the location is remote. As a result, there are still many unsold villas in this area, and my family is the only one living here. I originally chose this place for its seclusion, but now, I want it to be even more secluded. Mr. Lee, how many villas in the community are still unsold? Only 2 have been sold so far, and one of them is about to be relished. I curled my lips into a smile and bought all the remaining villas in one go. Mr. Lee called immediately, showering me with gratitude and even offering free renovations. I scheduled the renovations to take place after the extreme cold weather had passed. As for the purpose of buying these unfinished houses, it was naturally to provide a place for Jiang Tsungwen's family to live. After all, I took them to live in a villa, and they didn't even thank me enough for it. As for the unfinished houses, I was willing to spend money to make them suffer. and they should still be grateful to me, transferring the payment, while Jiang Kongwen was still being indoctrinated with his father's twisted ideas. I calmly took the keys handed over by the property manager. The largest villa was selected for their family. With high ceilings and an extremely spacious interior, they would surely freeze to death when the extreme cold arrived. Leading Jiang Kongwen past the villa where I originally lived, we arrived at the one I had personally chosen for them. As soon as they entered the courtyard, Jiang Kongwen was stunned by the exquisitely designed and massive villa. Opening the door, my heart sank to the bottom again. "You bought a villa but can't afford to decorate it." I played dumb. "Yeah. The money I originally set aside for decoration all went to you. That's why I always stayed in the dorm before. Now that it's vacation, I have no choice but to make do here. But don't worry, this place is at least livable." Jiang Kongwen frowned as he examined the concrete walls and exposed pipes. But in the end, he couldn't resist the allure of living in a villa for the first time in his life. Opportunity. "Just command me to clean up. First, clean up the dust, then buy a few beds. My family can't sleep on the floor when they come over, and make sure the air conditioning covers the entire villa." Beastman, Docs, filling up the entire villa. "You really dare to dream." Suppressing the mockery in my heart, I put on an innocent expression. "The bed definitely needs to be bought, but as for the air conditioner, the house isn't even connected to electricity yet, so there's no way." Jiang Tsungwen's face twitched. Hing urged me to quickly figure out how to buy the basic furniture. As he was about to go pick up his family members right away, I stopped Jiang Kongwen. Jiang Kongwen asked me impatiently, "What now?" I smiled sheepishly and said, "Kongwen, I don't have money to buy a bed. Can you transfer me some? And we'll need a toilet and washing machine too." "Right. We have to buy them. Everything costs money." Jiang Kongwen pushed me away and shouted, "Where did all your money go? Didn't you just ask me to renovate?" "I used all the money to pay the deposit." Seeing that Jiang Kongwen still refused to pay, I continued to exaggerate the situation. "In winter, using a bucket as a toilet isn't entirely out of the question, but wearing those dirty clothes for too long not only fails to keep you warm but also starts to smell." "Got it." Jiang Tsungwen's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot, but after much deliberation, he finally relented. "Such a hassle. Here's 2,000 yuan. Go buy everything, and get me a bathtub too. I need it for bathing. Consider this a loan. Here's your money. Don't forget to pay me back." I gratefully accepted his first transfer. Back in school, Jiang Kongwen was often told he had a peculiar smell, so he became extra careful about washing his clothes, even if many of them ended up faded and worn from excessive cleaning. Indeed, only by truly grasping his pain points would he be willing to pay up. The plan was proceeding smoothly, and I walked away with light steps. Everything was ready, just waiting for the show to begin. On the way, I contacted the community manager assigned to work with me and had him arrange for workers to install surveillance in the largest and most remote villa. Isn't Jiang Kongwen supposed to be filling up with air conditioners? Given the circumstances, we had to switch to surveillance cameras instead. Electricity is naturally connected. I specifically instructed them to cut all circuits except those for the surveillance cameras. As for the cameras, make sure they're well hidden. I had the bodyguard take me to the furniture market, where I bought 3 folding spring beds and a defective washing machine. As for the remaining money, it was only enough to buy a bathing tub, certainly not the kind of bathtub I'd use, but one made of a waterproof fabric bag, a makeshift bathtub. It's not that I don't want to, but the money just isn't enough. I can already picture their family in this chilly villa, where the only warmth they can feel is probably during a hot bath. I can't wait to see them fight tooth and nail over this shoddy bathtub. To see their family's disgraceful behavior sooner, I bought 2 large family buckets, along with 6 full cups of iced cola, and a cup of ice-cold Sprite. Their family probably hasn't eaten rare treats like hamburger fast food before. They'll definitely wolf it down, putting extra strain on their digestive systems. And they certainly wouldn't finish it all in one go the first time, saving some for 2 meals. That icy, greasy stuff going down, paired with my enough ice-cold drinks prepared for 2 rounds, guaranteed to send them running. Not to mention I don't even want them to have a single warm meal from the start. Bought some expired instant food and yogurt too, just trying to make sure they get fed. Grabbed some random exotic cooling fruits as well, eat them in a daze, and not a peep afterward. Most importantly, I didn't buy them toilet paper, not even toilet paper. I meticulously pick out even the receipts from shopping bags, and under my request, all the paper bags for food delivery have been replaced with plastic bag. I want to see just how clean Jiang Kongwen really is. I brought the stuff back, and Jiang Kongwen was so shocked his eyes nearly popped out. His face looked like a spilled palette as he pointed at me, and it took a long while before I finally spoke. "Is this all you bought? How did my bathtub turn into this broken tub?" I pouted and said with a hint of grievance, "Because that's all the money you gave me. It was only enough to buy these things, and the bathtub you wanted cost several thousand yuan. I even remembered you and specially bought you this tub, and now you're complaining." He wouldn't give up, grabbing and shaking me as he demanded, "Where did all the money your parents gave you go?" As soon as he finished speaking, my inner drama queen took over. I broke free from his grip and said with a sob in my voice, "My parents don't approve of us being together, but I really don't want to break up with you, so they cruelly cut off my allowance. Kongwen, you're all I have now, and last time, it wasn't that I deliberately ignored your call. My mom took my phone and deleted your contact. Later, seeing that I didn't contact you, they thought I had let you go, so they went back home." After this whole explanation, all the unreasonable points were clarified, and it dispelled Jiang Tsongwen's suspicions about me. He didn't waste any more words on me, just planned to make another trip to the supermarket and had me tag along to carry the bags. I nodded meekly at him. But inside, I was cursing up a storm. In my previous life, I kindly let them move in, eating my food and using my things, yet they wouldn't even allow me to sit at the table for meals, saying that since I hadn't yet given birth to a son, I was considered an outsider and could only eat their leftovers. But their whole family was like starving ghosts. No matter how much food was prepared, they would devour every last bite. Most of the time, I couldn't even get a single bite to eat. As for sleeping, they said I couldn't sleep higher than them and could only sleep on the balcony floor. Every night, I would hug my cold self tightly, listening to the growling of my hungry stomach as I drifted into a dazed sleep. Each time, I fear seeing the sun of tomorrow, yet also dread not seeing it. Such tormenting feelings. They should experience them too. Jiang Kongwen wanted to stock up on more supplies, but his wallet wouldn't allow it. Watching me put on an act while still strolling around the supermarket, I trailed behind carrying large and small bags, struggling mightily, yet I didn't feel wronged. On the contrary, I was full of energy, because I fully exercised my initiative and, in coordination with the surrounding bodyguards, replaced Jiang Tsongwen's carefully selected vegetables with rotten ones still covered in insect eggs, and all the eggs were swapped for spoiled ones. Eating vegetables with insect eggs can be considered my way of showing compassion for their family, as I was genuinely concerned they might not get enough protein. Truly, the world is rare to find a girl as virtuous as me. Back at Baisu, Jiang Kongwen had just opened the door when his younger siblings came rushing out noisily, knocking me to the ground. His younger brother, still in elementary school, already weighs as much as two of me. Not only did I fall to the ground, but the eggs I was carrying also shattered all over the floor. Hearing the commotion, Mother Jiang came out. Without even glancing at me on the ground, she first pulled her younger son over to check if he was hurt, then pointed, yelling at me over the broken eggs on the ground, "You blind old hag, not only did you bump into my precious son, but you can't even hold on to things. Do you know how expensive eggs are? And you just broke them, so much. Can you afford to compensate?" His sister also screamed at me, "Bitch, bitch." In my previous life, Jiang Xiaomeng was jealous of my delicate willow leaf eyebrows. While I was asleep, she not only shaved off my eyebrows but also cut the hair I had grown for years. My hair was also cut off. I was so angry that I rushed forward to retaliate, but the servants and bodyguards around me had already been dismissed by their family in advance. Alone and helpless, I directly was kicked to the ground by Father Jiang. "Shut the hell up. You're ruining my sleep." I couldn't get up for a long time, looking at Jiang Kongwen, hoping he would speak up for justice, but he just went along with his father's words and said, "Dad, thank you for helping me teach her a lesson. Women still need to be beaten." Hearing the words he uttered, I could only feel absurdity. These were the words coming from the mouth of the boyfriend I had been with for 2 years, and what did he mean by helping him? I'm not his property. In despair, Tears kept welling up uncontrollably. Cry, 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 shameless crying. And now you're acting all wronged. Get over here and do the laundry. Who told you to wake up so late? Mother Jiang came out of the laundry room, her cold, rough hands gripping my collar tightly as she dragged me in to wash the clothes. The moment I entered the laundry room, I was utterly stunned. Turns out all the bags and bundles they brought were actually piles of unwashed dirty clothes. They had come here intending to use the washing machine. But she doesn't know how to use my fully automatic washing machine. In her frustration, Mother Jiang completely broke the washing machine, so she dragged me over to do the laundry. Staring at the filthy, sour-smelling clothes in front of me, I couldn't help but gag. This reaction immediately struck a nerve with Mother Jiang. She plopped down by the door and started wailing. "Hey, kid, look at the woman you found. Can't do a damn thing. Asked her to wash some clothes and she suddenly gets sick." Acting all high and mighty, my own mother-in-law. The city girls these days just can't compare to our hard-working country lasses. Such disrespect. What a sin. Jiang Kongwen was infuriated by his mother's words and pushed me into the laundry room, locking the door behind him. Have the nerve to give my mom attitude. If you don't wash all these clothes clean, you'll never come out again. I'm left kneeling, scrubbing their family's clothes in this freezing, bone-chilling cold water. It's impossible to get them clean. Grease stains piled on top of dirt stains, layer after layer. No matter how many times I scrub, new grime just keeps surfacing. The water was always murky, emitting a stench that even laundry detergent couldn't suppress. I scrubbed and washed until my hands turned red and purple, swollen like 10-carat sticks, barely managing to finish. My nose was filled with a strange mix of laundry detergent and sour, foul odors. It wasn't until evening that I was finally let out. The moment I stepped outside, my legs gave way and I collapsed to the ground. The Jiang family looked at my abnormally swollen fingers from frostbite, fearing I might be ill. They drove me out onto the balcony, forbidding me from ever entering the room again. As for Jiang Kongwen, he was an accomplice from start to finish. At that moment, I no longer had even a shred of nostalgia for Jiang Kongwen, only overwhelming hatred remained. And the other members of the Jiang family, they deserved to burn in the 18th level of hell, never to be reincarnated. As I expected, the 3 beds they bought were for the 3 men of the Jiang family. Mother Jiang, Jiang Xiaomeng, and I were only fit to sleep on the floor. I couldn't even sleep on the floor. After all, I was still an outsider by surname. I tugged at Jiang Tsungwen's sleeve and said, "Kongwen, I'm a little hungry." Jiang Kongwen paused upon hearing this, as if going through an intense internal struggle, and in the end, only handed me a cup of Sprite. "There are only 6 burgers in total, and the chicken nuggets aren't enough either. You should take this chance to lose some weight." He spoke with righteous conviction, yet never once looked at me the entire time. I'm not surprised. For a scumbag like him, doing anything is normal. The only reason I'm still here putting on this act with him is to take the lives of his entire family. The temperature was gradually dropping, and the butler was urging me to return via my phone, with the bodyguard waiting not far away. Considering how harsh the conditions are here, I refuse to live such a miserable life with his family, especially since they just boss me around. I want them dead, but I'm not crazy enough to sacrifice myself in the process. Holding out until nightfall, I pretended to have a sudden inspiration and forcefully knocked over Mother Jiang and Jiang Xiaomeng. Mother Jiang immediately shrieked, "You wretch, have you lost your mind, daring to show disrespect to your mother-in-law before even entering the Jiang family, just like in his past life, still so fond of twisting the blame onto others, using those outdated feudal etiquettes to discipline me, back when I still loved Jiang Kongwen." I couldn't bear to see him torn between me and his mother, so I always took the initiative to yield to his mother, but nearsightedness is different. I only feel pity for her, though she herself was a victim of feudal ethics. Now she can turn around and become the perpetrator without a second thought. Even if you're caught in the rain, you still tear others' umbrellas. However, the pitiable often have their own faults. Thinking of all the things she did to me before, I don't sympathize with her. She deserves it. The other members of the Jiang family, hearing Madame Jiang's words, also gathered around. Mr. Jiang came over and, without a word, slapped Madame Jiang twice, while the others also, taking things for granted and letting them happen as usual. After slapping, Father Jiang turned his head to look at me. He had already proven his authority, and now it was my turn to give a reason not to be hit. I suddenly remembered, I have a whole cabinet of instant noodles and snacks in my dorm. But I forgot to bring them. Father Jiang narrowed his eyes and pondered. Jiang Kongwen started shoving me. How could you forget? Go get it now. We're already short on food at home. If there's any missing, the first, you'll be the one to starve to death. I pretended to be conflicted. The extreme cold is here. It's freezing outside. I'm afraid if I go out, I might not make it back. In my previous life, just a few days after the extreme cold arrived, they ran out of food and then used a carrot and stick approach to force me out to find supplies. This time around, they haven't yet been worn down by the extreme cold, nor have they revealed their true nature over food, but they're still greedily coaxing me to go fetch supplies, saying that, only then can I truly become one of the Jiang family. I pretended to have made up my mind and even took Jiang Tsungwen's only down jacket with me. Originally, he was unwilling. But the instant noodles and snacks I mentioned were too tempting. After some hesitation, he still handed them over to me. I was escorted out of the house by his family. As the door closed, I heard the sound of it being locked from the inside, along with Jiang's father's warning, if you don't bring the things back, don't bother coming home either. Ridiculous, who would want to go back? I walked out the door, no longer willing to keep up the act, as I stepped out of the villa's gate. The waiting bodyguards immediately draped a fur coat over me, riding in a car with the heater blasting. Surrounded by bodyguards and servants, I returned to my warm and cozy home. The warmth inside was a world apart from the cold outside. Seeing me return, chocolate excitedly circled around me, while the butler brought over the prepared medicinal meal to ward off the chill. In the dining room, steaming hot dishes were all laid out on the table. This is the life I deserve to enjoy. Waking up naturally, I checked my phone to find the temperature had dropped to -50 degrees, with further declines expected. The extreme cold had finally arrived. I called my family, and they were also experiencing the extreme cold. However, thanks to my reminders, they were fully prepared, and their daily lives remained completely unaffected. Now the last concern has been resolved. The butler served me today's breakfast, my favorite spicy soup. After finishing a bowl, my whole body felt warm. Combined with the constant indoor temperature of 28 degrees, I had to wear short sleeves just to avoid feeling too hot. Lying in bed, I decided what to eat for lunch, then headed to the home theater to watch a movie I'd been wanting to see for a long time. After finishing one, I suddenly remembered Jiang Tsungwen's family. I switched to the surveillance footage I had prepared, and seeing all 5 members of the Xia family sitting on different buckets with diarrhea, I burst into laughter. In the living room, they had already finished all the fried chicken and burgers I bought back. As seen from the garbage bag's perspective, it must have been the 3 Jiang men who ate 6 burgers and most of the fried chicken. As for Mother Jiang and Jiang Xiaomeng, they should be assigned to the first primary school and some chicken nuggets. No wonder the expressions of the 3 men became even more twisted, watching their contorted expressions. I could only feel that the stench was about to rush through the screen to reach me with the rising and falling sounds. It was truly nauseating and disgusting. Afraid it would ruin my lunch appetite, I switched to the next movie. I used to be constantly bogged down by trivial matters, unable to even spare 2 hours to quietly watch a movie, only managing to scroll through 3-minute videos, watch the trailer, then pretend you've seen it. Playing always comes with a sense of guilt. Looking back now, it's been so long since I've been able to do what I truly want and learn what I desire without any burdens, so let it be now. Pick up past hobbies and uncover future goals. Another 5 days have passed, and my life remains happy and peaceful. Every day I confirm the menu with the butler and have video calls with family. Life is full of flavor and joy. The life of the Jiang family stands in stark contrast to my own. After several days, the Jiang family in the surveillance footage had become almost unrecognizable. The entire family, dressed in layers of filthy clothes, huddled together, shivering. The vegetarian food had run out, leaving them with no choice but to cook meals, but the vegetables bought earlier already had insect eggs, and now the bag was crawling with bugs. Under Father Jiang's orders, Mother Jiang and Jiang Xiaomeng had no choice but to pick out the bugs. Even so, could a meal made from vegetables nearly eaten by bugs taste good? The answer was obvious. Little fatty Jiang Xiaoyong took just one bite before forcefully spitting it all out. His splattering saliva sprayed all over the table, all the food. Jiang Kongwen, who had always prided himself on being clean, suddenly flew into a rage and slapped Jiang Xiaoyong across the face. Still furious, he grabbed a nearby stool and was about to smash it down. Jiang's mother, terrified, shielded Jiang Xiaoyong with her body, but how could her frail frame possibly block the obese Jiang Xiaoyong, who seemed about to burst? In the end, it was Jiang Xiaoyong who pushed his mother away and kicked her in the chest, causing her to wail in agony. Not only did Jiang Xiaoyong not stop, he became even more brutal. "It's all your fault, you old hag, for cooking such disgusting food. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been slapped. Dad should have beaten you more. You really deserve it." Jiang Xiaoming stood frozen in place, numbly watching everything unfold. In her eyes, I saw a strange and terrifying light. Under Jiang Xiaoyong's influence, Jiang's father and Jiang Kongwen could no longer suppress the long-buried evil in their hearts and joined in beating Jiang's mother, one after another, as Jiang's mother's pleas for mercy grew increasingly desperate. The emaciated and starving Jiang Xiaoming slowly inched closer to the food. Amidst the chaotic background noise, I witnessed Jiang Xiaoming's immersive mukbang. She ate incredibly fast, even swallowing some food whole. In no time, the meals meant for 3 people on the table had all disappeared into her stomach. By the time the 3 men had vented their emotions, even the last traces of sauce on the table had been licked clean by Jiang Xiaoming. Before the 3 men could recover from their stunned state, Jiang's mother, who had just been screaming in pain, struggled to her feet, her face bruised and swollen from the beating, and pointed. Jiang Xiaoming started cursing. "All you know is how to eat, you worthless thing. How did I give birth to a bastard like you who only cares about eating?" With that, she charged at Jiang Xiaoming, venting all her resentment from being beaten by the 3 men onto her. Fists rained down on Jiang Xiaoming. Jiang Xiaoming also roared, "As if you're not a worthless burden yourself, you can't even bear children now. You're the real, worthless one." Neither was willing to back down, and the fight grew so intense that the 3 men nearby couldn't even intervene. This absurd incident finally ended with Jiang Xiaoming being beaten by 4 people together. Jiang Xiaoming lay on the ground, staring fixedly into the distance. By switching the surveillance camera angle, I saw her twisted expression clearly and understood the light flickering in her eyes. It was called hatred. After nightfall, in the extreme cold, the temperature dropped even more frighteningly low. While Jiang Xiaoyong was sneaking up in the middle of the night to look for food, Jiang Xiaoming knocked him out from behind and dragged him to the stairwell. Without showing any emotion, she returned to her original spot and began shouting, "Mom, Dad, my brother is missing, what should we do?" This time, Father Jiang didn't scold Jiang Xiaoming for waking him up. Instead, he urgently asked where Jiang Xiaoyong had gone. Jiang Xiaoming lowered her head and pretended to be anxious, saying, "I just got up to use the bathroom and saw him in the kitchen looking for food. He might have gone out to find something to eat." Got it. Given Jiang Xiaoyong's personality, it's not surprising that he would do such a thing. Listening to the howling cold wind outside and feeling the bone-chilling cold even indoors, Mother Jiang began to cry. "Oh dear, my child." Father Jiang then grabbed Jiang Xiaoming by the hair and slammed her head against the wall. "You worthless wretch, we raised you for nothing. You can't even take care of your little brother properly." I didn't mean to. It won't happen again. Never again." Jiang Xiaoming stammered through tearful explanations. But the surveillance footage clearly showed not a single tear had fallen. Father Jiang, unable to contain his anger, struck her a few more times with the hammer, then hastily dragged Mother Jiang out the door to search for their precious son. Jiang Kongwen was nowhere to be found and never appeared throughout the entire ordeal. As soon as Jiang Xiaoming saw them leave, she immediately crawled to the door and locked it securely. She then returned to the hiding place where Jiang Xiaoyong was concealed. After a long while, Jiang Xiaoming emerged alone once more. His entire body was radiating abnormal heat, with sweat beading on his forehead, yet his face was lit up with a blissful smile. What on earth had she been up to? Before I could figure it out, Jiang Xiaoming grabbed a knife from the kitchen and began wandering around the villa, searching for Jiang Kongwen. Finally, she found Jiang Kongwen in the 3rd-floor bathroom. Listening to the sound of running water, Jiang Xiaoming opened Pandora's box. It turned out that Jiang Kongwen had discovered that hot water could flow from the pipes here, so he brought the bathtub I had previously bought to soak and ward off the cold, afraid that his family members would compete with him for it. He didn't tell anyone. Blame me for forgetting that the property here supplies hot water uniformly. No wonder I couldn't find Jiang Kongwen in the surveillance footage. The steam from his bath was too thick, obscuring the camera. His head seemed covered in a layer of mist, making it impossible to see anything. Seeing Jiang Xiaoming walk in, Jiang Kongwen felt a mix of shame and anger at being caught, shouting at her to get out. But soon, his voice began to tremble. Then I heard the sound of violent splashing water. After a moment, the surroundings fell silent. Jiang Xiaoming turned off the faucet that had been continuously pouring out hot water. I also got to see the horrific scene in the bathroom, the walls splattered with red, while Jiang Tsungwen's remains were scattered in pieces all over the place. Surroundings, under the moonlight, I saw the twisted smile on Jiang Xiaoming's face. She had completely lost her mind, her face twisted into a grotesque smile, her entire being like a demon from hell. But I wasn't afraid at all, on the contrary. I found it utterly exhilarating. Outside the door, the butler knocked and asked if I wanted a midnight snack. I answered loudly and turned off the surveillance feed. Not a single member of the Jiang family will survive. Jiang Kongwen is already dead, and if nothing went wrong, Jiang Xiaoyong should have been taken care of by Jiang Xiaoming as well. As for Jiang's parents, Jiang Xiaoming won't let them back in. Without the shelter of the house, they'll freeze to death outside, and Jiang Xiaoming will soon starve to death without food. This is simply delightful. As for the fate of their family, all I can say is that what goes around comes around. In the days that followed, I comfortably nestled in my warm home, eating, binge-watching shows, and playing games. Life was blissful. This lifetime's extreme cold lasted even longer than the previous one, nearly a month. Fortunately, I had the foresight to stockpile an abundance of supplies, allowing me, along with my butler, servants, and bodyguards, to smoothly weather this global crisis, a terrifying disaster. On the 27th day, the sun came out, shining brightly, melting the ice. The extreme low temperature of -70 degrees has finally ended, and the thermometer is slowly rising. The world finally found peace after the chaos. Opening the window, the cold outside had reached an acceptable level. The bodyguard went out to check for any damage in the yard and came back to tell me there were 2 beggars frozen into icicles in the distance. I smiled and simply said the property management would handle it. I thought of the surveillance footage I hadn't checked in days and pulled it up again. The screen showed 2 mangled corpses. Not far away, a gaunt woman covered in blood was crawling on the ground, grabbing handfuls of squirming maggots to eat, fighting back the urge to vomit. I turned off the feed. Soon, the sound of sirens came from outside, and multiple ambulances and police cars flashed past my eyes. I knew I was there to pick up Jiang Xiaoming, and I had no interest in joining the commotion. I just roughly understood the reason why Jiang Xiaoming had managed to survive until today. She relied on consuming her own siblings and the continuously hatching eggs from before. Insects make a living. A severe cold snap has exposed too many dark sides of human nature. Yet even so, Jiang Xiaoming's actions were shockingly extreme. Despite being a minor, the court delivered a swift and severe verdict. After all, having caused the deaths of 4 relatives in succession, she could not escape the death penalty. The sentencing verdict. On the day of the trial, I made a special effort to attend. From a distance, I witnessed with my own eyes the fate of the last member of this wicked family. As I was leaving, Jiang Xiaoming seemed to spot me and began howling hysterically. Several men couldn't restrain her, and she was quickly sedated by the doctors, facing her resentful gaze. I smiled and casually flicked the lustrous hair she had always envied to the point of gnashing her teeth in our past life. I turned and walked away without looking back. The extreme cold has passed, and the new year is approaching. My best friend's family's financial chain broke under this extreme cold. She had intended to ask me for a loan to help her family weather this crisis. I refused with a cold expression. I couldn't forget how she had leaked the news about my property to Jiang Kongwen. How could I possibly let someone who had stabbed me in the back like that off the hook? Besides, I was the one who severed her family's funding chain. Why would I ever help her again? A spoiled heir like her, who had always lived off her family's wealth, quickly descended into a wretched state without their support, becoming neither human nor ghost. This year, my parents brought my grandparents home to celebrate together. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, I tasted the dumplings from my memories. As for later, I converted the villa I bought into a mountain resort, just in time for the outdoor camping boom. I made a fortune directly, and my parents couldn't stop praising my sharp business acumen in the family group chat. As a rich second generation, of course I couldn't spend all that money I earned. I invested all that money into more meaningful causes, helping various women in difficult situations. Among them, some were victims of slander for picking up takeout. Some were threatened by ex-boyfriends to release private photos, and others were trapped in domestic violence, powerless to struggle. Young girls and expectant mothers, I provided them all with free legal aid, and gradually the charitable foundation I established gained recognition. Later, more and more journalists came to report on it, and I was even named the Advanced Youth of the Year. Inspired and encouraged by me, more and more people stood up and joined us. The sun is warm, and youth is at its prime. This lifetime, I will remain independent and clear-minded. In the future, let's walk the flower path together.